Epicureanism. It comes from a philosopher by the name of Epicurus. And sometimes Epicureanism gets associated with Cyrenaism, sort of people seem to think of it as that. But it is very different. To begin with, Epicurus, there's actually a well-known magazine called the Epicurean. There's sometimes you'll see things called the Epicurean Cafe or things like that. But I believe there may be a culinary club here at Lincoln Land called the Epicurus Club. But basically, the Epicurean Cafe, the Epicurus Club are all culinary. It's a culinary magazine. It's a culinary club. They're interested in food. The thing is Epicurus is an egoist, and he is interested in pleasure, but he takes a little bit different take. He sees avoiding pain as a pleasure. He says, don't do so much that you cause yourself pain. Live a temperate life. That way you can avoid pain. But he also emphasizes, so he's emphasizing moderation, but he's also emphasizing higher pleasures, like pleasures of the mind, not just the body. While the body is fine, he's also not sort of, focused on bodily pleasures. Now, with that said, for Epicurus, he's a little bit more oriented towards long-term pleasure, towards pleasures of the body and pleasures of the mind, and not trying to go overboard. I think the fact that Epicurus is associated with culinary issues or culinary aspects of pleasure is very fitting. The thing is with fine dining is that you don't go to a fine dining restaurant and get that you don't usually go to a fine dining restaurant and get all you can eat. It's usually they come out and they have a very small plate, or they may have a large plate, but it's nicely decorated with sauces and some garnishments and stuff. And you might get a piece of meat that's, very small, but it's very fatty, it's very rich, and it's very good. And I have, and sometimes they'll bring out a soup, and they won't bring out like a huge trough of soup. They'll bring out just a little bitty soup. You might only get, 15 spoonfuls. It would not be a ton of food. And the idea is that the food is very rich, it's very good, but it's also realizing that if you eat too much of it, it's not going to be good for you. You can't eat too much of it. So it's sort of live this moderation. It's about a pleasure, but it's about a pleasure in moderation. And so, if you go to a fine dining restaurant, a lot of times, you're paying a lot of money, and you get this meal, and it's like, okay, I'm hungry now, let's stop at McDonald's. I don't know that I would do that, but I do remember going one time with a couple of friends, and I think they ended up ordering something additional because they just felt like the portions were not enough. They were still hungry, but I didn't personally, but I do know that is sometimes the case, and that's why this is sort of fitting. It sort of emphasizes that moderation. Go out, have a good time, but don't just do it in excess as the Cyrenaicists would.